Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secrets to her glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. And we're live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabareting. And we're live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Now, all over the country, we're seeing this backlash against drag performers repeating the threats of us grooming and sexually abusing children. I haven't seen any drag queen convicted or even charged with such crimes. What I have seen in the past few weeks is this. Thomas Brackett, pastor of Holy Trinity Pentecostal Church in Andrews, South Carolina, was taken into custody on 11 warrants that included criminal sexual conduct with 2 different victims. And then there's Kenneth Daniel, a pastor at First Baptist Church of Chalkville, Alabama, who was booked this week and charged with a child sex offense. And here is Christopher Darren Smith, who in 2019 was pastor of Word of Truth Outreach Ministries and was arrested for child molestation. If I had children, who would I trust my children with? These monsters who preach of their God's love, or someone like Miss Majesty Divine, who reads to shelter dogs? When will it end? In Tulsa, Oklahoma, a donut shop was vandalized twice in 2 weeks because they hosted an art installation called the Queen's Dirty Dozen. After the banning of pride flags was lifted in the Yamhill County School District in Oregon, a masked person approached the home of a school employee, lit the pride flag on fire, and performed a Nazi salute. What can we do to stop this madness? It's still happening. Shouting protesters, Bible quotes, woe to those who steal and destroy the innocence of children, read the sign outside a drag queen story hour in Wenatchee, Washington. Where were these Bible-thumping protesters when abuse happened in churches? A Church Commission report in 2004 said more than 4,000 United States Roman Catholic priests had faced sexual abuse allegations in the last 50 years, in cases involving more than 10,000 children. I'll ask again, who would you trust your children with? These monsters or a drag queen? It's happening again. Stop grooming kids. Stop the sexualization of children. Red signs held by armed Proud Boys protesting when drag queen Juicy Garland read educational books to children and their families in Concord, New Hampshire. Where are these same protesters when it comes to the church? An investigation revealed that 380 leaders and volunteers in the Southern Baptist Convention have faced public accusations of sexual abuse. I'll ask again, who would you trust your children with? These monsters or a drag queen? Hi there, Amber LeMay here. According to the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, known as GLAAD, threats and violence against drag and transgendered events surged nationwide throughout 2022. This was brought back into our country's consciousness again when in Colorado Springs, 5 people were murdered and 25 others injured at Club Q during a drag show. While the rest of the country only thinks about such things when the news breaks, members of the gay, drag, and trans communities are dealing with this on a daily and nightly basis. GLAAD counted at least 124 cases in at least 47 states where anti-gay activities or significant threats had targeted gay drag events throughout 2022. And how many similar events went unreported for fear of retaliation from organizations such as the Proud Boys? As you saw during tonight's opening, we've been bringing attention to such attacks here on this show and over our social media platforms. We talked to Barbie Wire from Memphis, whose drag show was canceled just as they were to start because armed Proud Boys were in the parking lot. We featured Drag Story, our hosts from Vermont and New York who had their events threatened. We've told the stories of several other queens from all over the country whose lives were placed in danger. Tonight, we're going to be talking again about the subject with three guests. Let's bring Russell in to tell us more.
Hey, Amber, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fine, Russell. Last week we told everybody, hey, we're going to take the week off. But, then Colorado happened and we said, no, we can't. We've got to get back on the air. So, but first I want to, before you get on me, tell everybody to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please, everybody do that. We appreciate it because we have lots of great things out there for you to see.
Yeah. So Russell, I know with our guests tonight and with the promotion we've done that we've have a lot of new viewers tonight. So tell them the best way to watch the show.
Yes, as always, the best way to watch the show is on YouTube, and that's at youtube.com/Amber Live. And that's because on YouTube, Amber is in full HD. And the chat room has lots of people there, lots of your friends. You can get on there and chat with them, have some conversations going, and send comments into us as well. I do want to remind you to watch and subscribe to our TikTok, our Instagram, our Facebook page, and even our website, amberlive.tv. And we do daily TikToks out there, so there's a lot of new material. And I want to tell Amber doesn't even know this yet. Today, I looked at all of the videos we've done the last couple of weeks on the subject of the protests and attacks on drag queens, and I added up how many views we've gotten, and the total on all those is about 730,000 views. So,
and I know we've got more. We've got more followers on TikTok and YouTube because of this. And so please share all this information. Please do that. And, again, you want to like, share, and subscribe because you want to know. Russell and I have a very special interview coming up this Tuesday.
Yes. We do. Yes. Do you want to reveal who that is that we're recording?
Sure. Let's tell them. We're going to be interviewing Jay Rodriguez. Now, Jay mainly from Queer as a Straight Guy, but he's done so much more. He's done Broadway. He's done other television shows. He's got a great story. We're interviewing him on Tuesday, and that'll air in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned to listen to that interview.
Yes. And I also want to remind people that if you can't watch our interviews, you can listen to them on any podcasts out there. I put them out as the Amber Live interviews, each of our guests individually. So on your way to work, you can listen to the great interviews that Amber's been doing. And then what keeps all that going, Amber?
It's the bustiers.
Yes, our bustiers who we love, and we want to thank all our bustiers. Anyone watching tonight, if you'd like to become a bustier and help us out, we would greatly appreciate it because there are costs to doing this. And you can see we have our super bustiers who have really given and our regular bustiers. You can use that Venmo at RJD Pro to give, or if you go to the amberlive.tv website, you'll find a support Amber Live, or I think now it says donate, and you can give to Amber Live. And if you any amount is welcome. If you give $25 or more, however, I will send you a sticker with one of our logos on it. For $100 or more, you'll get a sticker and a magnet. And for $200 or more, you'll get a sticker, a magnet, and a mug. And the mug will feature the new logo on it because we've got those out now on our store. So again, use that Venmo at RJD Pro or go to amberlive.tv and look for the donate button. And thank you so much to all of our bustiers. You've kept us going.
All right, Russell. I don't know if you froze or if I froze, but can you tell us who the guests are tonight?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. We have three great guests tonight who are all here to talk to us about what happened to them. First up, we have Miss Majesty Divine from Alabama, and she has an incredible story of what happened when she was reading a book to dogs. And then we have Juicy Garland from Boston, who was doing a show in Concord and had a run-in with the Proud Boys. And then we have Crystal Quartz, who's been having a lot of trouble in Ontario. So it's happening everywhere, Amber.
It is, Russell, and I just want to be thankful that we have the opportunity to tell people what's going on so they can be aware. So thank you very much for arranging the guests. So let's get on with the show.
All right.
First there were the don't say gay laws, then the banning of trans athletes, and the condemning of gender affirming health care. And Texas said, Hold my beer. After the recent midterm elections, the Texas state legislature again was retained by the GOP, and Representative Jared Patterson introduced House Bill 634. Now, this bill aims to prevent most drag performances from taking place. The bill identifies a performance in which a performer exhibits a gender identity that is different than the performer's gender assigned at birth using clothing, makeup, or other physical markers and sings, lip syncs, dances, or otherwise performs before an audience for entertainment. It also states holding a drag performance renders a venue a sexually oriented business. This not only covers drag kings and queens, but literally prohibits any trans person from performing in public. Will Texas ban productions of Hairspray, La Cachafol, Some Like It Hot, Tootsie, Mrs. Doubtfire, and the many other shows that have cross-dressing performers? Oh, and let's not get started about Shakespeare. No. And with all that, let's begin our first interview tonight. Let's welcome Miss Majesty Divine. Hey, Madge, come on in.
Hey, darling, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Madge. So, first of all, tell me where you're calling from tonight.
I'm in Madison, Alabama.
Madison, Alabama. All right. You are Miss Majesty Divine in Madison, Alabama. Where did you begin? Where did you grow up?
So I was a military kid. I've lived all over the world. And when my dad retired, I went to school here in Alabama. I went to college. I became a math teacher, and I started teaching in Birmingham, Alabama, about 30 years ago. And about 7 years into my career, somebody said, hey, we need some fundraisers for Pride and for, at that time, an AIDS hospice. Do you want to do drag? I was like, well, not really, but sure, let's go raise some money. And that started 22 some odd years ago. And I just kept doing it because it was a lot of fun. And it gave me a platform. It gave me a reach to what I believe in. So I started doing drag as really for fundraisers. And then I turned it into kind of like a part-time business.
Very good. So what was the brouhaha recently that got you suspended from your daytime job?
So I do drag queen story time up here, and usually we do it as a fundraiser during the summer for Hard Knocks Rescue and Training. It's the dog rescue I work for. I'm their official drag queen. I raise money for them. So we have story time every other Thursday during the summer. Parents can bring their kids. It's free. They can make a donation if they want to or not, but we have the adoptable dogs there. I read books centered around dogs and giving dogs a second chance. I read books about inclusion and acceptance. And, the kids have a good time. We color, we sing songs, we read. Reading to kids is a lot of fun. I have a master's in counseling, and I found that books are very healing. So I think reading to kids helps them deal with things that have happened in their lives. So we had a fundraiser that was a nighttime fundraiser. Most of the ones, and real preface this is every single one of my story times was live and on my website until Facebook shut Drag Queen Storytime Facebook down. So all of these were out there live. Everything I've ever done was recorded and live. So we had one that was at night. I didn't have any kids there. So I had a room full of adults, but the people who run the rescue wanted to still go live so we could raise money, because it's another way we raise money is when we're on live. So I read a book called Walter the Farting Dog, and it was about a misunderstood dog that farts a lot, obviously. During the book, I made an offhand comment about something I read.
Okay, what was your comment?
It was Walter found a big juicy bone, and then I said everybody loves a big bone, to a room full of dogs who, honestly, what dog doesn't like a big bone? But anyway, so this religious faction that protests all my drag queen story times clipped together a video of all my previous story times with the crowds. They took that little one, put it at the end, and said I was making sexual innuendos in front of a room full of children, which is absolute BS. Libs of TikTok got it. They sent it first. they threatened my principal. I'm a school teacher. Obviously, people know that by now. They threatened my principal and my superintendent that if they didn't do something, they were going to release this story. My principal and superintendent said no comment because I hadn't done anything immoral, wrong, or otherwise. Then they released this article. All of a sudden, my school systems, Twitter, all their accounts are being spammed because they keep tagging them. All these hate comments, all of these, like, Libs of TikTok has like 1.5 million followers. So it blew up.
Okay, let's go back. Tell me more about Libs of TikTok. What is that?
They're a Twitter page, and I had never heard of them. It's apparently one woman,
Karen. I bet you her name's Karen.
Yeah, it's something Rychek, I think. I don't know. I still don't know. I really don't care about them. Yeah. But it sounds like something good.
Libs of TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
It's not.
What they do is, since they got banned from TikTok, they're on Twitter. And what they do is they go around and find clips of teachers. A lot of times it's just teachers teaching empathy in their classroom, but then they take and they edit it and they twist it and they put it out there and they make it look like this dastardly thing, and they get those teachers harassed. So they sent that to my principal on a Tuesday, said, do something and give us a comment or else. They told them go away. Wednesday, they published their article. Fox News picked it up. The Mirror UK picked it up. I am internationally famous now. Do you know that? It hadn't raised my booking fee, but I am famous. A bunch of local places picked it up. The next day, I just kind of came to work. The day after that, I had a doctor's appointment, so I was out for a day. And then that's when it started really blowing up, when Fox News got it. Then I was told that I had to go to speak with the superintendent and the deputy superintendent Friday before work. And that's when I was placed on a leave. The leave was for my protection because they had gotten a ton of threats. The comments under the articles were things like, he needs to be tarred and feather, and somebody put 22 caliber shells cheaper. One person said, parents of Huntsville, why are you letting this thing live off of life support? Another one said I should be stomped onto the curb. Like the comments got worse and worse and worse. And that led to a 2-week paid leave. I still got paid. I didn't get like suspended without pay. While they investigated or whatever, I was never told a whole lot. Those 2 weeks were brutal because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I kept getting on my school email, my Facebook, and everywhere else, tons of like just horrid messages. Like I'm not going to give them credence here, but they called me everything from the worst things you could call somebody to like telling me I belonged in prison. So
okay, in effect, you were late. You were suspended with pay for 2 weeks. How did it affect you otherwise? I mean, did you go out in public? Did you?
I did. Another drag queen from Alabama who took down wannabe Governor Roy Moore, or Supreme Court Justice Roy Moore, Ambrosia Starling, called me and told me how to handle it. Like I did keep going out in public. I didn't cancel anything. I did cancel one private event because of where it was. It was for somebody's birthday and I didn't want their birthday to be affected by this. So this all happens. Keep getting the comments. People start recognizing me. A lot of people came up and said, that's BS. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Some people wanted to say something, but you could tell they were afraid to, because I'm still a little bit imposing, but it slowly took on a life of its own. Like physically for me, my blood pressure has been out of control since this happened.
Oh, I bet.
Like they've had to double my blood pressure. They still haven't got my blood pressure under control. Because my health is getting worse. January 1, I'm retiring from teaching after 27 years. Because if it happens again, what they used as justification for me being suspended was the internet social media policy. if they blow that up again and that happens again, I'm not saying it would happen, but I can be fired. And I've worked too long to get my retirement. But health wise, physically wise, I can't do it. Like,
what was your support from the rest of the community?
From the people I work for, my principal said she stood behind me. The dog rescue stood behind me. A lot of people in my community were behind me, like sent me messages saying, keep your head up. You know, people are watching. You keep your head up. This is important. Pretty much everybody had something positive to say. Some organizations did not make official statements, but other people from those organizations came and said, you know, because I started doing family-friendly drag because our community asked me to. Like, the parents who have kids wanted queer entertainment for their kids. They didn't want to go to something that was just heteronormative. So that's why I started doing this. All of the parents of my students, a lot of them stood behind me. Former students stood behind me. I got a lot of messages from kids I hadn't seen in 10, 15 years, telling me they support me. So I had a lot of support. I had parents rallied around me. They raised a lot of money for my dog rescue that I'm part of. So there was a lot of good things that came out of this, but at the same time, there have been some, like, I had to get a new security system for my house. I have to have cameras in points of entry because they didn't know what could happen, because some of the things people said, like, you don't know if these people are crazy. You don't know if they're real. You don't know if they're just going to stay behind their keyboard. And that's not something I have a family. I have to take care of them. So,
okay. You retire January 1st. What's next?
So I'm working, when I saw how you do this, I am working on a studio to do drag queen story time on a more regular basis, complete with puppets and music, and friends have volunteered to do stuff. But I'm also going to work on my drag because, like, I'm 52. I love performing. I am just in a point where I am booked regularly and blessed to be where I am. So I'm not going to stop. But I also have some side businesses that I'm working on, and I'm still going to tutor math, and I have a master's in counseling. I'm going to be counseling part-time too. So,
well, good for you, Majesty Divine. We're going to stop this interview right now, but we're going to have you back to talk to the other girls about what's going on. Cool. So thank you so much for your story. You've inspired many, many people. All right. Russell, come on in.
Hey, so amazing.
It really is. Oh, we've got more to come. Tell us what's more to come.
We do have more to come. We have 2 more drag queens to talk to tonight, and that will be Juicy Garland, who has had a little delay tonight, but she is ready to go. Thanks to the airline, she did make it. And then Crystal Quartz later on. And of course, then we'll have all 3 of them on to give us a little discussion after that. And then Craig and I will talk about what's coming up later on.
Yeah, yes, please comment. Please make some comments. If you have questions or just support for whatever you have for our guest tonight. We really appreciate that. So, Craig, if you could post any of the comments that I may have missed during my whoa, yeah, I was thinking whoa a lot. That's crazy. Yes, that's so terrible. So. Majesty, you got people behind us here. That's horrible. Whoa, Miss Majesty Divine, you don't deserve that terrible treatment. Yes, I'm sorry that happened to you. There's Bridget from Illinois. Hello there, Bridget. So upsetting. Yeah, it really is. People, seriously, yes, it's 2022. Very good. Thank you so much for those comments. And Miss Majesty Divine, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. You don't deserve that treatment. We got your back. Yes, we do. So thank you. That's the Amber Live crew coming in to support you tonight. So
there's a lot of support out there, but
yes, keep those comments coming. And we got to share. You got to share this information, because you may think your family knows about it, but they don't. You know, they're not fully aware of it. Yes, we need you all. Thank you, Gary Buck from Ohio. We have a lot of our regulars watching tonight. Really appreciate that. Let's see.
We have a big announcement.
That's right. Last week we said happy birthday to Leah, one of our frequent fans, and now Big J is birthdays today. So Big J was celebrating his birthday. So Big J, happy birthday to you. I know he's watching tonight, so we're looking forward to
happy
that.
Birthday, Big J.
Yes, I hope you have some pizza.
I know he had some pizza.
And if you're watching this show for the first time, we've been talking about some serious subjects here, but the show is not always focused on serious subjects. We have a lot of fun here at Amber Live, and so we've got a little clip here that tells you some of the stuff that we do.
Amber Live, the drag queen comedy talk show. Famous guests like Bruce Valanche, Carol Baskin, John Fetterman, Tammy Brown, Mrs. Kasha Davis, Charles Bush, Hal Sparks, and many more. And comedy from Rusty Peen, Lucy Bell LeMay, Dwayne Scott Surdy, Cousin Craig, Boog and Shug, our producer Russell, Emoji Nightmare, Cousins Crystal and Bones, and Rocco Zamboni. Catch it all on youtube.com/Amber Live. And don't miss our incredible social media channels on TikTok and Instagram. Amber LeMay Live, the Larry King of drag queen comedy talk shows. Now with better legs. Don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, please don't forget. That's so funny to watch. Just all those people we've talked to. We started this show. Burlington, Vermont closed down on March 16th of 2020. On March 22nd, yes, 22nd, I got on and did my first show. And we've been doing it every time since. What number is this tonight, Russell?
This is show 131, I believe.
So go on YouTube and watch some of our previous shows. So Russell, one more plug for the Bustiers.
Yes, we want to reach out to everybody who's watching tonight and say, please, if you can become a Bustier, we would love to have you. Please donate using that Venmo at RJD Pro. Or use the amberlive.tv website and look for the donate button if you'd like to use a credit card, because that's very important to helping keep us streaming and getting this information out there. And on the other weeks, having a lot of fun.
Yes. And we hope you'll come back for future shows. And this weekend or this Tuesday, we're interviewing Jay Rodriguez from Queer as a... Oh, it's going to be fun.
So, yeah, and that will air in December. We'll air that interview. So,
yes.
Thank you. And Amber, have a great rest of the show.
Karen Gephardt from Memphis, Tennessee. Hey, Karen. Nice to see you. Right. All right. Thank you, Russell. All right. Earlier in the show, in the intro, we talked about Juicy Garland and problems she had with her drag queen story hour in Concord, New Hampshire. So let's talk to Juicy about that. Juicy, come on in.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Fine, Juicy. Glad you could make it. I understand you were flying today and you had delays.
Yes. I got here by the skin of my teeth, but I made it.
Oh, you look great. So tell us about where did you start doing drag?
Yeah, so I started doing drag maybe 5 years ago, inspired by a friend who also does drag. And I started performing in the Boston area. My first performance was at this club, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which unfortunately didn't survive the pandemic. But since then, I really jumped onto an online space as soon as the pandemic hit and was able to do drag on a weekly basis thanks to Charlie Hides, who did an online week. And throughout the pandemic, I worked on my drag. And once the pandemic sort of began to open up, especially in the Boston area, I was able to start performing. So I've been performing in the Boston area for about 2 years now. And over the summer, I made contacts with this wonderful business. It's a cafe. There are 2 locations in New Hampshire called Teetotaler. And they invited me to do a story hour back in late September. And I was super excited. I have a background in science and education. So I was just really excited to talk about science and potentially space or biology with kids, and settled on the theme of space, where we had our story hour in Concord, New Hampshire on, I think, the 13th. The date is a little fuzzy in my brain. It's been a while. Ooh, uh-oh.
You're still there.
Okay, good.
Go on.
Oh, yes. So, when I was preparing for the Story Hour event in Concord at Teetotaler, they gave me a heads up that they had received some troubling messages from Proud Boys, so I prepared myself. I had gotten everything ready for the event. Then, when I got there, there had been about a dozen or so people who were there to protest the event. And they were there with your, bog standard white nationalist signs. There were also a few extremist Christians who were there as well. I went upstairs, I got ready, and by the time I was done getting ready, there were maybe 90 to 100 people who had showed up to counter protest.
Oh.
And it was the most amazing reaction I could have hoped for. So overwhelmingly, the community of Concord counter-protested the Proud Boys. And they encircled the cafe, which had a lot of windows, in order to make sure that the kids didn't get scared. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, my biggest concern was whether or not the kids would be affected by these jerks who were just outside. So it turned effectively into a huge pride event for Concord, and 100 people encircled this cafe, blocking the windows with dance and pride flags, and we were able to have a really, really successful story hour and brunch for the kids. We ended up getting, I think, about 30 families, which took up a huge amount of space in that cafe.
Did the Proud Boys disperse?
Say that again?
Did the Proud Boys disperse? Did they leave?
Yes, yeah. They did.
So how did that make you feel?
I was going in, I had a lot of trepidation. I was very anxious, but I'm the kind of person who, when faced with jerks like this, tend to double down. Some call it a character flaw. I'm pretty fond of it. So I was only encouraged to make sure that I went through with this event the second I found out there would be protesters. And it was nerve-wracking until the moment where I realized there were so many people from Concord's community that had come to really support the event. So I feel very fortunate because not everyone has had this kind of response. But the people in New Hampshire really wanted to show these white nationalists that they weren't welcome. And throughout the day, as things carried on and I felt safer, I began to just be so happy to just have a positive event to talk about science with kids.
Were you, was the press there? Was the media?
Yeah, so a couple local Concord papers had showed up. I spoke with one of them, and NPR also was as well. They did not interview me, unfortunately. But one thing I made sure to do was, after the event itself was over, there were still so many people. I went out and thanked them, right? Because we couldn't have had a positive, educational, fun experience without all of the people who had shown up. So I went out and I spoke to everyone who was there in the rain, my poor wig. And then I was able to speak with, I think it's the Concord Tribune. I'm not super familiar with the paper, so I'd have to look it up.
What's happened since then? Obviously, you got some publicity. Was that good or bad?
So there was initially a bit of online harassment, but I learned to be very fond of the block button. And actually, someone in the Concord area had gotten a hold of my Venmo information, I think from the cafe, and encouraged people in a YouTube video to send me tips. So I ended up out of nowhere the night before. I was out at the movies with a friend, and I started receiving tips left and right on Venmo. So I got a little bit of online support. I did get a little bit more visibility, which was great. And it really felt good to be rewarded for something I was excited about and something I felt good about.
What's happened since then?
Since then, the negative noise online has died out. A few news articles had come out in the Concord newspaper and on PR. And I've just tried to carry on with my life and just keep performing in the Boston area. I am hoping to go back to Teetotaler for another story time, but there in the winter, taking a bit of a break in drag events until maybe winter or spring. And at that point, I anticipate going back and doing more.
So where do you perform, and what's your act? Tell me about your act.
So I tend to perform at Jacques at MT's Drag Stroll, and I'm always looking for other drag events to participate in as well. I tend to do more of a mid and early 20th century campy kind of drag. So I perform to a lot of Broadway tunes, or every now and then I'll throw in something from the 80s or early 90s that's a little bit more peppy. I make almost everything I wear, so I see every act as an opportunity to also challenge myself creatively and so on. So I tend to focus on sort of campy looking numbers that really sort of satisfy me creatively.
Do you sing or lip sync?
I usually lip sync. I can sing, although I have yet to work up the courage to actually sing in front of an audience in drag. It's a little hard to sing in a corset, and I tend to cinch pretty tightly.
Your diaphragm. Yes, protect your diaphragm. All right, Judy, thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight. We're going to have you back on to talk to the other girls in just a second, so stand by. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're hearing great stories tonight from some magnificent people. So, and we have one more, Crystal Quartz from Canada. Crystal, come on in.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. So tell me about Crystal Quartz. Who are you? Where are you from?
So I'm a drag entertainer based out of Ontario in Canada, and I am full-time. So I do 5 to 7 shows roughly a week. And I travel around. I have about 20 venues across Ontario, and I create inclusive spaces within different communities. So I go around and make inclusive spaces in like Boston Pizzas, Kelsey's. We do wineries, breweries. I create safe spaces for those so that they can feel themselves.
Describe creating a safe space. How do you go about that?
So basically what I do is I go in and I perform and I do different things, but by simply being myself, it offers the opportunity for others that they can be themselves in a space where they don't normally feel comfortable.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing drag now 18 years. Yeah. But I recently took on this big project about 3 years ago, and it took off. And so I just kept adding more venues until now I'm like all over the place.
Now, the reason we have you on tonight is the other day I saw you on TikTok and you made a plea. Can you explain what that plea was?
So basically, we're going through the same kind of thing that you guys are going through down there. The problem in which I see is that I feel like our voices aren't being heard, and there's not enough protection before we get to an event. I shouldn't have to wait for violence to happen before I feel like I'm being protected, nor should we have to hire security for me to just do my job. And especially because I have so many venues, these people can keep going around and follow me. And my life is very much out in the open, and I do this every day of the week. So you can find me wherever you want at any point, and these people are welcome to each of these venues to start doing something, or threaten or protest or whichever. So once I figured out this was going on as bad as it was around here, I decided that I needed to make a plea about it, because I was trying to reach out to enforcement and nothing was happening. And all the other performers that I talked to, nothing was happening with them. They would say things, but nothing was actually being done to prevent this before it got actually bigger.
Okay, what was being done, and who was being called to report it?
So there was a specific group that was targeting each event and telling people to join everybody to come and make it so uncomfortable that everybody would leave.
Did they have a name? Do they have a
They do, but I'd rather keep the name out so I don't have a target on my back. Okay. But they do have a name. I just haven't mentioned that because, it could be kind of dangerous around here. But yeah, there's definitely names to them. And they weren't just targeting me. They were targeting a bunch of groups. And then as soon as it got forwarded to me that they were planning to come to my show and ruin it. And then the owners of the venue canceled it because they were scared of what was going on. And so that was October 30th. And then the other week after that got canceled, now on Monday, they threatened another drag story time. And so somebody reached out to me to be like, hey, just so you know, they're at it again. And I'm like, okay, well, I've had enough of this. And it wasn't 2 hours later, and they started threatening coming to my place.
Have there been any actual violence or anything?
So nothing at my events because it's been canceled, and the one that they're planning on coming to is in advance right now. Now, I'm not quite sure if anybody's experienced violence at all of these other events. I haven't dug too much into it. It kind of messes with me reading about what's going on and actually finding out more of the stories that you guys are going through. It's just I don't understand why people have such an issue with me bringing light and love to everybody and making people feel safe.
And yet they'll send their kids to church where all these molesters are.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. I'm just like, it's absolutely mind-boggling to me right now.
So what do you think promotes this anger towards us?
Do you know what? Like, I think when people say they're like, it's the devil talking to you, I feel like they maybe enjoy trans women and they see that, kind of that snake with the apple and the story there. They see this as something, satanic because they feel something for it. Either that or they're just so like not comfortable with themselves that they hate to see somebody feeling so comfortable with themselves.
Someone having fun that you don't understand.
Literally, yeah. You don't get it. So it's a crime to you and it's horrible and it's a sexual thing. And, the whole grooming children, I'm like, that's not anything that I'm doing at all. I come out there and I do Captain Hook and like Little Mermaid. I make children's lives feel like they're seeing the princess in real life.
There was one comment that some mother wrote, and they said their child was asking about a drag queen. So why do they look like that? And the mother said, well, you like to dress up, don't you? You like to put on a costume. The kid goes, yeah. He goes, that's what they're doing. They're just putting on a costume. They're having some fun.
Yeah, having fun, being an actress. Like I always did acting as a child, but male roles didn't suit me. And after that, I did hair and makeup professionally for 20 years. And so now basically what I'm doing is I'm combining my lives and making one life where I make people feel safe and comfortable.
Well, that's just great. That's great. So what's the support there in Canada? Do you feel support? You said you had problems with the law enforcement.
So originally I did. I wasn't getting back to any of them. They weren't getting back to me. But since that video blew up, they're on it now. Because they got tagged probably 100,000 times between the two accounts. And so my voice is definitely being heard here in Canada, which is great. And I've had so much support. Like it's very overwhelming to look at the messages that I've gotten. It's lovely. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's this kind of situation. I don't cry often, but it's like, it's bringing safety or like threatening to my safety just for me to go to work and just simply being myself is just, it's not okay with me. And yeah.
No, it's very good. I'm glad you're being heard, and I'm glad the law enforcement is taking your word on this. That's very good. All right, let's bring back in our other guest, Miss Majesty Divine, Miss Juicy Garland. All right. So do you have any comments, anything you want to say to each other or questions?
What Crystal said about people threatening you and saying these things, that's a trauma, and it does weigh on your psyche. And all of us who go through this, we need to do stuff to take care of ourselves, our mental health too, because people don't think about it. You say, I got these threats, and people don't think about that. That sticks in the back of your mind that, oh, there's somebody out there who wants to physically do me harm.
Yeah.
Because, and it does, it weighs. Like my stepson, when he started reading what people were saying, he left work and came up here because he lives in Birmingham, which is about 90 miles away. He left and came up here because he was afraid of what was going to happen. So it's just this is just crazy that people think this. Like, I don't understand why they're doing it, but they're doing it. So we all have to deal with it.
So Juicy, have you felt personally in danger in anything you've done?
I was worried, especially having parked near the location for the story event, walking in, that like if my car was seen by some of these jerks, they might try to dox me and find out where I live. I've been fortunate at least that there hasn't been any in-person blowback at this point, but I am worried. And I think there's this national trend in right-wing white nationalists and other bigots targeting the queer community by creating this fabricated idea that we are grooming children. And the only way we're going to be able to get through this is by focusing on our own community and really sticking up for each other, I think. Because
Projection.
at the end of the day, these people are going to make a lot of noise and get a lot of media attention, and we have to fight back, both verbally and just with our own personal presence to be able to get through it.
What were you thinking when you heard about the news from Club Q in Colorado?
I realized that it could have been any one of us, right? There was a moment where it really hit me how much I might have actually taken my own life in my hands just by having this event. And, you know, talking to families, you couldn't have a more like benign and positive event to be treated like child rape. And just the way these people are thinking every time we do these events, we are possibly taking our own hands, and it's troubling and it's frustrating and it's scary.
So, Crystal, are you taking any precautionary actions when you plan an event?
So yeah, unfortunately now I've had to ask friends to make sure that they can come out, just to make sure that if anything does happen, then I do have some people that can back me up, as well as all of the police to understand which events are being targeted, so that people can be there for that. And like, I hate to say it, but like my eye, like I'm on like constant guard, watching. I'm looking in pockets. I'm trying to see what's going on, because all these people, they're threatening. What they do is they actually buy tickets to the show so that they can start it in the show, so that you don't know where they're at. And that's where it starts to become a problem, because now I'm like, I'm going to accept a tip from somebody as I go around the room, and I'm like, is the tip going to be a tip? Are they going to do something? It's kind of crazy. So we are taking precautions there. The police know the events that I'm doing, and the ones that are being more targeted than others. Like I said, I do a lot of events. A bunch of them are in universities, so I don't really have to worry so much there. They have security guards. But unfortunately, like I don't work in any nightclubs, so there's not security at my events ever. It's like a 2-hour show where we create a safe space that's fun. So, you know, adding security, that's a big bill.
Madge, what are you doing for precautions?
Since most of mine are in clubs, we add security personnel, and the door people are very, very aware of what's going on. Me personally, I'm kind of aware of every exit in the place. I'm also aware where I am on stage. We take personal security devices in our bags.
What do you mean by that? What do you take?
I have a mace. I have a taser.
Really?
They're in my bag. My drag mother told me to fill a 18-inch lead pipe with cement and put it in the bottom of your bag, and use your bag as a weapon. Like, there have been all kinds of things suggested, but those are the things I carry with me.
Crystal, do you carry protection with you?
That's it. Yeah, no,
He's got the guns.
No, and some big friends around me. That's about it.
And how about you, Juicy? Do you carry anything?
No, I haven't. If I felt like I needed to, I might start considering it. Yeah, but at this point I haven't.
But how frightening. We talked about Barbie Wire in Memphis, Tennessee, who they were beginning this drag show, and they had to cancel it because there was armed Proud Boys in the parking lot. And they had to leave, walking through, and the police were talking to the Proud Boys. You know, they weren't telling them to disperse. They were over there talking to them, and chatting. I should say chatting, not talking to them. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just can't imagine.
Yeah, that's
my
crazy.
question's always been is, where are the Proud Boys? Because obviously they have jobs. What are they doing? Where are they working? So that's kind of terrifying to think that they could be anyone, and they could be the people who are in charge of our security.
Yes, they could be. Yes, they could be. Well, Crystal, Juicy, Madge, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is a conversation. This won't be the last conversation we have about this, I'm afraid. You know, but we have to keep the conversation going and keep it out there. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and let's just keep on doing what we do. We can't stop. we got to keep on going. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
having
Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my. Yes, that's what's going on in our world today. Russell, come on in.
Hey, Amber.
Oh, very sombering. Oh my God.
It is. It is. It's hard to
Sombering,
listen to all
sobering,
that.
sombering, yes. Yeah, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So, Craig, come on in as well. Craig. Oh, hello. Oh, do you have matching shirts on tonight?
We tried.
As close as you guys could match. So, all right. So, Craig, what was the comments there in the going on there?
There was just a common theme through all of them. One, that how horrible that people have to go through this, and two, how important it is to all stand together and support each other. And so yeah, it was definitely a common thread through the whole thing.
Well, thank you so much.
And a lot of comments about pretty dresses and nice makeup and
And not towards me, right?
well, actually, no, Amber, there weren't any.
Fine. Okay. All right.
Didn't invite so many pretty guests.
Yes. Well, I hope people who are watching will save this and send it off to their friends who missed it tonight, because I think it was a valuable conversation. So, Russell, tell us what's coming up in future weeks.
Well, we have next week we will have an interview with Laura Cayuette, who is a great actress from New Orleans, who was in Django Unchained.
He froze, I think. I don't, or did I freeze? No, I think he disappeared.
Can you hear me, Craig?
I can hear you.
Okay, must be Amber. So Laura will be joining us next week for a great interview where she talks all about her movies that she's been in, including Kill Bill and Django Unchained. And then the weeks after that will be Jay Rodriguez, which we're recording on Tuesday, as we mentioned. So,
that's going to be great. Thank you so much. And on December, 7th, we have our next Amber Chat. First Wednesday of the month. We're going to go back and do Amber Chat the first Wednesday of the month. So join us for that as well. But if you liked, shared, and subscribed, you know all about that. All right. Russell, when is our Christmas show?
I don't know that we're having a Christmas show this year, because we've got Jay Rodriguez right now scheduled it'll be a 2-week episode. So that and Laura will eat up most of our Christmas episodes that are scheduled.
But you might want to plug the House of LeMay's Christmas show.
That's right. If you're in Burlington, Vermont on December 18th, that's a Saturday, we'll be doing our Beaver Pond Christmas in Burlington, Vermont. So thank you so much. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Show.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yeah, this is probably our last live show of the year. So thank you so much. Yeah, we've been doing this for 130 some episodes, but we're going to be coming back in 2023. But keep watching the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much, and take care of everyone. All right. Good night. Bye.